Hey, today's theme is the top movies that Netflix recommended for me that I hadn't already seen. I wanted to see if Netflix algorithm knows me better than I know myself. And the names of those three movies are Contagion, Gattaca, and Girl Interrupted. First up is Contagion. This is a 2011 film about the 2020 COVID pandemic. Weird, right? It nails it. It's crazy how spot on it is. It is directed by Steven Soderbergh, and I should have known that I would have loved this film just based off of him, because like every single one of his films that I've seen so far, I'm a big fan of. Most are really liked, and I think there's a couple in the quiet likes. I really should just watch all of his films because they're my vibe. And it stars an ensemble cast of people you recognize. And it's great. It's not actually about COVID. It's just about a fictional airborne disease that's also contagious via touching stuff. But like, it legit nails it. The only things that I would say it got wrong are it's very America focused, especially in regards to like the creation of the vaccine. It's kind of just like, we did it, when in reality it was a global effort. They didn't say it was just like one person who did it. It was definitely like a team effort. And they did have other foreign people doing stuff, so that was good, but like they should have had more of the fallout in Europe and Africa and Oceania and like all those other places. It really just kind of focuses on America and then bits of China. And then the other thing is they had the person who primarily profited and propagated the false information to get his comeuppance. And boy, oh boy, did that not happen. But I don't really fault the movie for that one, because that's just real life being shitty. And I appreciate this movie's optimism about bad people getting their just desserts. Ugh. But yeah, no, it's great. I loved it. It nails the tension. I was just like reliving all of the trauma of early 2020 all over again, but in the safe environment of knowing that this one can't get me. So yeah, it was great. I loved it. I definitely, without a doubt, recommend it if you think you can handle the trauma that is an airborne disease that shuts down the whole world. Ugh. But it's great though. Not the disease, the movie. Next up is Gattaca. This is a 1997 film that I had seen before, but it's been like 17 years, so I really didn't remember it. And there's a chance I fell asleep while watching it last time, because I'm pretty sure I watched it in like high school science class, and I wasn't always the best at staying awake in science classes. Anyway, this movie's great. The premise is, in the not too distant future, genetic manipulation is incredibly common when you're making babies. So like, you can just, edit their DNA so that they won't develop addictions and anger issues, and they won't have heart problems and all sorts of stuff. So like, we're essentially engineering perfect people. But occasionally people will still have like natural births, though it's not considered natural anymore. The science-based one is the natural one. And because of that, companies technically can't discriminate against regular births, but they are definitely clearly a second-class citizen. So that's like the world of this story. And then there's sort of like a murder mystery plot on top of it. And it's very solid. I especially liked that it wasn't a sci-fi movie that creates a different world, and then the whole point of the movie is to erase the differentness of it. It just tells a story within it. That was very, very interesting. Ethan Hawke gives a very, very solid performance. I also really like Jude Law in this. He's so baby-faced and young and does great. Uma Thurman's also very, very solid. I also liked the style of the movie, because it's one of those futuristic things where they have a lot of old stuff in it, because, we don't know what the future is going to be like, so that's why they include lots of old technology to kind of make things feel more timeless. And I liked that and appreciated it. It's just a really good, really solid little movie. I enjoyed it. Good solid amount.
And lastly is
Girl Interrupted. This is a 1999 film starring Winona Ryder and Angelina Jolie. And the basic premise is based off a memoir. This young woman is not feeling the best, so she gets sent to a mental hospital. And then from there, it just follows like every single person in a mental hospital trope that there is to T. So I wasn't really a fan of that. This movie's okay though. I didn't hate it. It really didn't feel like it was doing anything really fresh with the genre. It was just doing the same things that One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest did, except it's women. It's not trying to be a remake of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest though. It just doesn't feel like its own thing. Though there were good performances. I did like Winona Ryder in the lead. I think this is the most consistent performance that I've seen her in this year. There is something though that I loved about this movie. It was only in the first 15 minutes. They did mention it like once or twice later, but like it was only actually seen in the first act of the movie. And that was Winona Ryder's character experiences time differently, or at least that's what it feels like to her. Wherein that, to her, instead of time being a linear thing, she'll be going through life and then suddenly she'll find herself at a different point in time. So to her, it feels linear, but in reality, it's like she's just jumping around the timeline all over the place. But because it's linear from her perspective, what just happened in this scene is affecting what's happening in the next scene. So like as an example, she gets some drugs to make her fall asleep, and then in the next scene, she is graduating high school, but she's passed out because of the drugs from the last thing. Like that's why she can't wake up, is because someone just drugged her. That's such an interesting concept that I just was so blown away by, and I wanted them to keep doing things with that, but they stopped once she got to the mental hospital. Really, I think I wouldn't have gotten so annoyed at this movie just following tropes had it been like half an hour shorter. I remember pausing it to do something and being like, oh my god, there's still an hour left of this movie, and it really didn't feel like there was a lot of important, interesting things that happened in that hour. It was just more tropes. So yeah, it was okay. I don't really recommend it unless you really like Winona Ryder, then it's definitely worth a watch because she does give a good performance. Alrighty, now for today's rankings. First up, we got Contagion sitting at number 23 in the really like section. And then after that, not too terribly far behind, is Gattaca sitting at number 49, also in the really like section. And then bringing up the rear, rightfully so, is Girl Interrupted sitting at number 149 in the meh section. And this is out of a total of 192 old movies so far this year.